Hi friends, welcome to the next video. I'm glad to see you here. Today, we're doing a continuation of last week's Keeper of the Lost Cities fanfiction video. We're reading Secret Meets Part 1 and 2. So yeah, let's just get on with it. Keith Sensen. Keith jogged down the dark street to Sophie's house. He fidgeted with his gray-blue mask, remembering how sensitive she had seemed about getting COVID. Keith knew if she really cared about not getting COVID, he probably shouldn't be sneaking into her house, but tonight he really needed some foster time. His parents had gotten into another fight, and like always, Keith had been dragged into it. He wasn't even sure how it started. He just knew that they'd both took their anger out on him in the end, by telling him how disappointed they were about his final grades for school and how much of a failure he was. Same old, same old. Now I'm sad. Keith ground his jaw as he turned onto Sophie's street and walked around the back of her house. Unfortunately, her neighbor's dog was out, and it immediately started barking at him like its life depended on it. Keith bit his lip and hurried to Sophie's window, sighing in relief when it opened with ease. He pulled himself in silently and shut the window, peeking out as the dog's owner came out and looked around, before dragging the beagle inside. Keith breathed slowly and quietly, before looking around. Sophie was curled up in a ball, holding Iggy close to her chest. The puppy whined in his sleep, chasing something. Keith smiled, running a hand through his hair before crouching down behind Sophie's bed. He pulled out his phone and texted, "Hey Foster, can I come over?" Sophie's phone buzzed a lively tone, and she groaned, picking it up. Her eyes stared at the screen before she answered, "No, I'm sleeping." "No, you're not," Keith texted back, smirking when she sighed. "Why?" she asked. Keith paused, frowning slightly before typing in, "I miss you?" Sophie sniffed and whispered, "Why is he so cute?" Then she texted, "I guess. Let me get ready first." Keith stood up from behind her bed, smirking. "Too late," he said, and Sophie smothered a squeal with her hand. "Oh my gosh, Keith," she said, flushing. "How long have you been sitting there?" Keith shrugged. "Like 30 minutes. He fingered his itchy mask as Sophie sat up in her bed, yawning. "You should have called me first," she mumbled, rubbing her eyes. Keith winked at her. "That would have ruined the surprise." Sophie looked at him and tapped her cheek. "Why are you wearing a mask?" she asked. Keith flushed, glad Sophie couldn't see. "You freaked out on me last time I was here, so—" Sophie watched as he plopped down on the foot of her bed. "You can take it off. I was just joking." She poked him with her toe, and Keith took off his mask, tossing it on the ground. "Yeet," he whispered as it slid under her dresser. Sophie giggled and scooted over, patting the bed next to her. "Don't sit all the way down there, Keith." Keith heaved a sigh, moving over dramatically, although silently glad that Sophie had invited him to sit closer to her. He stretched out, kicking off his shoes, and closed his eyes. "You know what? I'm never leaving this spot," he decided. Sophie was silent for a moment, and Keith felt her leg brush his. He froze, then looked around the room. "Do you have any blankets? I'm freezing." Sophie smacked her lips. "No, you can share with me, I guess," Sophie said. Keith hesitated. "I wouldn't want to mess you up, like with you having to get comfortable again once I leave." Sophie shrugged and lifted up the blankets. "It's fine, honestly. I could fall asleep in the bathtub." Keith pulled the blanket up to his waist and laughed quietly. "You can sleep just about anywhere, Foster." Sophie giggled as Iggy got up and spun around, lying back down right beside her head. Then she turned to Keith. "Okay, tell me why you're actually here," she said, yawning. Keith laughed. "Nah, I wouldn't want to bore you back to sleep. But I will tell you that your neighbor's dog almost got me caught." Sophie laughed. "Oh yeah, she's pretty much just their guard dog." Sorry. "Oh yeah, she's pretty much just their guard dog. Never see her out except at night. Now stop avoiding the question." Keith looked out the window, considering his options. Keep stalling or tell Sophie and possibly make it awkward? Well, stalling would also make it awkward, and Sophie was Sophie. Keith sighed and said, "I just came over because I wanted to spend time with someone who wasn't my parents," he admitted. Sophie was silent, and Keith bit his lip. "They got into another fight today," he said, barely a whisper. "I haven't told anybody, but they keep getting into fights and start talking about divorce. Then they start taking their anger out on me. I mean, not that I mind, at least they aren't taking out on each other." He laughed softly and closed his eyes. I just wish sometimes they would just get along, or just divorce and get over it, I guess. Sophie was silent for a couple of minutes, and Keith felt his face heat up in the darkness, and started to wonder if she even cared, when he felt her warm fingers intertwine with his. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Keith. And anytime you need to sneak through my window, you can't. Just tell me first. So I'm prepared and not looking horrible from bedhead. Keith turned his head toward Sophie's and smiled at her. You could never look horrible, he whispered, and he squeezed Sophie's hand lightly. Then he started to get up, when Sophie held onto his hand tighter and said, Wait, Keith, She stopped, and Keith looked into her dark brown eyes, leaning closer slightly. Yeah? He asked. Sophie held his gaze as he leaned close enough that their noses were almost touching. I think I like you, she muttered. Keith smiled. Well, guess what, he whispered. I know I like you. Then he leaned forward and gently pressed his lips against hers. Oh, yes, so Keith, oh, yeah. Okay, sorry if you tripped Bitsby, but this was a So Keith one, so ha 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 ha. So, this was sad. I mean, Keith, Keith feeling so bad about his parents being so mean and awful, and Sophie there to comfort him. Oh my goodness, this was really, really good. So I'll do the next part in another video because, I don't want to film too much at a time. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe and click the bell button to get notified when I post new videos. I'll be posting 2 videos today. The other one will be Secret Meat Part 2 of this series, so go and check that one out because it's pretty good. Bye, and happy watching.